Hey, and welcome. We are three families who come together to help each other grow in our faith, family, homesteading, and whatever else life throws our way. Join us on this journey as we sow and grow together.
Cassie Garcia here with Sow and Grow Together, and I want to take a minute to talk to you today about cooking with a whole chicken. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first started cooking for myself, the only experience I had was with boneless chicken breast. That was just, most recipes called for that, and I personally hadn't even tried a whole lot of recipes that I just found or heard of. I know my mom, she cooked occasionally. One of the most common chicken meals at our house was boneless chicken breast in barbecue sauce in the crock pot. So it was super easy. You throw the frozen breast straight out of the freezer into the crock pot, dump some barbecue sauce on it, turn it on until it's cooked, and then you make some other sides to go along with that. So at the beginning of our marriage, that was the only way that I cooked chickens. And then as I gradually started exploring other options for cooking and other recipes, I still found myself only cooking with boneless chicken breasts. And I think that has become kind of just a quick and easy way to cook chicken. If I needed shredded chicken, I cooked it and shredded it afterwards. I thought I'd kind of stepped up my game. I used the Instant Pot instead of just a crock pot or baking it or whatever, and tried some different ways. But today I'm going to talk to you about the whole chicken. And when we started raising some of our own meat, one of my biggest fears was, how do I cook it to make the recipes that I actually use? I need shredded chicken to make tacos, to make chicken salad, to make some soups. All kinds of different things call for shredded chicken. The only way I knew to do that was with boneless chicken breast. So this set me free. This just opened up a whole new world for me, because before I thought that the only way to cook a whole chicken would be like to roast it like you would a turkey for Thanksgiving, and it's a big thing in the skin. And another problem we had, because we don't have a plucker, we skin our chickens when we process them. It just makes it 1,000 times faster than plucking by hand. So we don't even have that skin to work with, which has its drawbacks, but it's just where we are right now. So what do I do with this whole chicken, and how do I get it to the recipes that I have? First of all, why would you even want to cook with a whole chicken if you don't have your own whole chickens to deal with? There are a few really good reasons to cook with a whole chicken. First of all, cost. If you are purchasing chicken, you can buy it cheaper by the pound as a whole chicken than you can any of the other ways, usually. If you're processing your own, it's more cost effective in that you are only processing the whole chicken. You're not taking the wings off and packaging them separately, and the breast and packaging it separately. You've got one package. So it saves you cost there. Also, if you are only using the breast meat of a chicken in your recipes, you are getting some nutritional value. You're getting some protein, you're getting some things that your body needs, and you're putting them in recipes that hopefully have other things you need. But if you are using the whole chicken, you get nutrients from the light meat, the dark meat, the skin, if you have skin on your chickens when you're cooking them, the bones, the tendons and muscles, and the marrow inside the bones, and the organ meat, and there's just so many things in a whole chicken. Nutritionally, it's going to be much more balanced, and your body's going to be able to use those nutrients more readily. Then also, speaking of nutrition, what we're going to do here is, after we get the meat off of it that we want, we're going to put these bones right back in here and make a bone broth. It's wonderful for your immune system, your gut health, your skin, all these different things. And it's delicious if you use it in soups, anywhere it calls for broth. We use it in place of water when we're making rice. We'll use broth instead of water. And that makes it more flavorful. Of course, any soups or anything that calls for broth. We've used it to make our homemade dog food before, and it just adds not only that little extra boost of flavor, but extra nutrition that is really valuable. So a lot of benefits to using the whole chicken. Plus, you are getting more food and wasting less of the animal when you are consuming the whole chicken, when you are prepping the whole chicken. But what I want to show you is, yes, it's beneficial in a lot of ways, but what was holding me back was, is it practical? Because ultimately, I feed a lot of people. We have a lot of people over, our own family, feeding them. I don't want to spend days and days prepping and act like every meal is Thanksgiving. Maybe I don't want to do that. I kind of want to do that, but different ways. I don't want to spend all my time roasting a chicken every time we want chicken. And I thought that was the only way to do a whole chicken. If you do a web search, if you search online, how to use a whole chicken, it will come up with a lot of things like how to divide out a whole chicken so that you have the breast meat and the wings and the legs and all these things, and how to cut it, and all the things you can make with the different parts. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to not do any of those things. Let's back up and show you how this got started. First thing we do is take our whole frozen chicken. In this case we used 3 chickens. So we put 2 in our large Instant Pot and 1 in the smaller one. We put those frozen straight out of the freezer. Of course, we take the plastic off. And we will take those and plop them straight in the Instant Pot. You could also do this in a regular pot on the stove or a crock pot. It's just the time is going to vary, and you're going to have to pay a lot more attention to it if it's on the stove. Then we took some herbs that we had in our garden, just things we had growing. We had thyme, rosemary, basil, lemon basil. We had some garlic from our garden. We also added garlic chives and onion chives. Whatever you've got on hand, whether it's from the store or from your garden, if it's dried or fresh, throw them in there. I don't have any certain recipe for that because we use what we have on hand. In my example for today, it doesn't necessarily matter even if you don't put any in there. I'm actually adding these herbs more for the broth later on than for my meat. It's not going to add a whole lot to my meat, but in the recipes that I'm going to use shredded chicken for, I will season it or flavor it or put it with other things that will give it the flavor later on. For instance, if we use this shredded meat for tacos, we will be putting all the meat in a crock pot, seasoning it up with our own taco blend, and simmering it on there for a while with a little tomato sauce and things like that. So it doesn't really matter if my chicken at this point is chock full of flavor, because I'm going to do other things with this meat. And actually, I like that it's not full of a particular flavor, because I could go ahead and process it all at once, cook it up all at once, and then use some meat for chicken salad, put some in the refrigerator for tomorrow when we're making tacos, or in the freezer even if it's going to be a little while longer. So it's okay that this is not full of flavor. But I want to show you how easy it is to prep this. And it is a little time consuming when you have several chickens. We have 3 going on. It'll take me a little bit of time. But I will be putting the bones in a bowl, because they're going to go back in this broth, and I'm going to simmer it all night on keep warm in my Instant Pot. I'm going to put the meat that I want in here. Then I will be keeping this meat. We're doing chicken salad, so it's okay that it's not going to be hot when I use it for my recipe. Let me show you how easy this is. First, I'm just going to take my meat and try to keep a hold of it. The meat here, and the herbs have kind of lost their green color, but that's okay, they've been cooked. They're still really good in there. And I'm just gonna pick some up with my tongs, they're still very hot, and kind of let it drip for a minute. And I'm gonna set it on my, kind of helps if you have a really nice big workspace. I use this cutting board. I'm not actually cutting with a knife, so it doesn't really matter if it's cutting board or just something that's easy for you to clean later. I'm gonna take out several pieces. You'll even see like some organ meat here. My husband will probably snatch that up before that goes anywhere. They're also great for people or dogs or whatever. If you have a dog that, if you're a little hesitant to eat that kind of thing, just give it to your dog or your cat. It's great for them.
these long chives. What I'm doing right now is setting them out because they're really hot still, and I'd really like to just grab it with my fingers without getting burned. So I'm just gonna give it a second on here. I don't know if you can tell, but the bones are just pulling right out. So I'm gonna just start grabbing those with my tongs. I don't know if you see how easy and quick that is. I'm just gonna find a bone, pick it up, and the meat just falls right off of it. And I'm gonna save those, as I said, for later. You can use the wishbone, make a wish. Also, any herbs I'm gonna put back in there if I can grab a hold of those. And of course, it wouldn't hurt if some of the herbs ended up in my meat, but right now I just want some shredded chicken, and I'm gonna add all the goodness to my recipe later. I'm also gonna be taking any like kind of gooey pieces that I see, that's usually cartilage, fat and cartilage and things like that, that are great for my broth, and I'd really rather not have it be chewy in my shredded chicken anyway. But I love that we get to use all parts of this chicken. So this is the meat that I would love to just sit and eat, that white breast meat. But when you mix them all together, all of the different parts of the chicken, meat from all the parts of the chicken, it does give it a flavor that's fuller. You really don't notice if it's light meat, dark meat, if you have any preferences when you're using it in a lot of these recipes. I'm just gonna get my hands in here. I've got my bowl here for the chicken and my bowl for the bones. So as I'm going through, if I run into any herbs that I don't want, and it tears apart so easily, I'm just gonna kind of shred it as I go, because the more I can do now, the less I'll have to do later when I'm actually putting together my chicken salad or the tacos or soup or whatever it is that you're cooking. And if I run into anything kind of too squishy for my liking or a bone, then I'm able to just throw it with the bones. The reason I like to use my hands when it comes to actually putting the meat in my bowl for the meat to keep is because there are a lot of small bones that maybe you wouldn't see right off the bat to be picking out with the tongs here, and I don't want anybody to choke on a little piece of chicken bone or do and get a weird sensation in their mouth, and I don't think it would hurt anything, but it's not pleasant. So I like to do the final sort by hand. My husband does this much faster, but he leaves a lot of meat on the bones and in the pot, and I really want to get every last little bit that I can. So I am doing it a little slower. It really goes pretty fast. Once you've spread it out like this, it cools pretty quickly, and as you're taking the biggest bones out, it's really separating more and cooling even more quickly. The bones are so well cooked that sometimes they break open. You can actually see the marrow in there. Once you can get your hands in there, it really goes pretty quickly. This is amazing chicken meat. Another benefit of this is that even if you have a chicken that is not a meat chicken, it would not have as much meat on it, obviously. We've done where we've gotten way too many roosters somehow, a hen that was not laying anymore. We roast them in the Instant Pot, and that gives us some tender meat that would, if you were roasting it or doing it other ways, it would be a little tough, but you can use the meat and the bones and everything for soup and still get a lot of use out of that chicken, even if it's not a meat chicken and there's not as much or as tender meat on the bones. We have officially got all the meat that we need off of the bones. I separated it into 2-gallon bags because it's just so much. We're gonna use it in the morning. We're just gonna put it in the fridge for now, but you could do this, and then you might wanna put it in some better storage if you had vacuum seal bags, or just
really made sure to get as much air as you could out of them. You could freeze them for a while. If you do a whole bunch like this at one time, those kind of options are nice. This is over 3.5 pounds. It was from 3 home-raised chickens. And then all of the bones and the water that it cooked in, the herbs that it cooked in, I put back in the same Instant Pot, and I have it on keep warm, and we will strain all of that out in the morning and save it as bone broth. So we're getting multiple uses out of it. I'm ready to use the shredded chicken in any recipe that calls for shredded chicken. Easy peasy.